Hi, I'm Sue. Which way do I look? Welcome to Fireside Chat. Usually I'm in a different chair, so this is a cool experience for me. Very happy to welcome into the studio the Creative Society. We have Jason, who's going to come and talk with us about what they do, what they've created. It's been a couple of years, I think maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've really accomplished a lot. And I think that the word is getting out. I think that having the networking and things like that, it really gets people interested in your mission. And it's very important. The time is perfect right now to talk about it, isn't it? Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So welcome.
It's a pleasure being here.
So glad. Go ahead.
And Sue has like a pitch hitter in baseball, which I don't know anything about, but she grabbed me out of my office while I was working. And she was like, Chris, you're mildly creative. I said, of course. Can you help me find out about the Creative Society? So, Jason, you're here from from Creative Society.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So the question is, as we have up there on the screen,
what is Creative Society?
What is the Creative Society?
So, the Creative Society project is a project that encompasses volunteers from 180 different countries, whose mission is to inform people about, first and foremost, the value of human life, and secondly, how to address climate change.
Okay, so what is the value of human life?
Well, the value of human life is that each of us uniquely exist within our sphere, and we have something to contribute to society. And when society is structured in a way that gives every person the opportunity to speak and have space to speak, then we can move towards evolution, right? Evolve more towards a peaceful society.
Okay. That was extremely well timed. Is the Creative Society always this well scored?
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
Was amazing.
That's a harbinger of the Creative Society.
Impeccable time.
Absolutely.
Should we expect that in the Creative Society, that
Yeah,
even during most mundane moments?
Everyone's spontaneous when
And
they choose to be,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, we break out into dance for just no reason.
Yes. It depends on the movie you're in, I suppose.
Right, exactly. Yes, exactly. So in the spheres, you're saying, spheres of like influence, of knowledge, of specialty.
All of it. I mean,
like
all of the
sports
things that
balls.
encompass our interactions as human beings, right? The way we socialize, the way we govern ourselves, the way we interact, the way our institutions are ran, all of it.
Okay. So within those spheres that we specialize in,
Yeah.
are there some like that are more desirable for human life, and
No, of
others
course
that are
not.
less desirable?
I think that's this is my personal opinion,
Okay.
right? Like as I've come to understand it, is each person is individually unique and has something to contribute to the world as a whole. And when we utilize those talents, they contribute to the greater evolution of our society and our ability to move forward.
Even mimes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's in the
I
creative.
mean, if you're into humor, you know, like Mr. Beam. you
Right,
know,
okay.
Bean is so
Okay.
funny, yeah.
So miming, let's say like advanced patty cake, square dance. I'm thinking of all the creative things in a society the person can put their efforts towards. There's nothing off limits, nothing outside of that's said.
No,
Okay, we're not.
I can't say that there would be anything off limits, you know, other than
Horseshoeing.
violence.
Other than
right?
violence.
Other
okay.
than violence.
Well, what about like contact
Because that's a
sports?
contradiction, you know? Well, that's competition, right?
Okay.
And done safely, right? Utilizing the best practices that those in the field who study that and determine it, I think,
Okay.
you know, that interaction that takes place, they'll decide.
Okay. So beyond just flag football, then.
Sure, of
Okay.
course.
Okay.
Maybe even space exploration, you know? It's more dangerous than playing in the NFL, right?
Well, when you say what is okay, so elaborate on that space exploration. Are we just talking about astronomy, like looking through telescopes, or what do you mean?
Why limit ourselves?
Well, that's what I mean. What
Carl
if-
Sagan, wanted to travel to other planets, so I
Okay.
think now's the time to do that, right?
So is the Creative Society? Is there a heavy emphasis on NASA and space programs like that?
No, depends on the person's interest. You know, I may place emphasis on it because I study astronomy on my own, and I'm
Okay.
going to school to be a mathematician,
Okay.
actually a
awesome.
teacher.
Okay.
So that is my interest, and that's why that was readily available. But I think that I don't think I can answer that. You know what I mean? Like I'm one person out of 8 billion, so like people would have to decide that.
So why though are you interested in space travel then? It's
Because I've lived my life 34 years on this planet, and X
Okay.
amount of generations have lived here, and we still haven't explored other planets or even developed the capacity to do so. And I think that would be cool.
okay. Any particular planet you're really interested in?
No, not at all.
Like of the-
Any and all of them, if we can develop the means to get there.
And what are your thoughts on the current means to get to space? So there's like various rockets and
I don't think we have the means right now
None?
to extend past the moon or anything
Okay.
like that, other than using autonomous robotics and things like that.
it's kind of disappointing though because it's robots. Like
You
it's
know,
not people
and,
out there.
And you and I aren't there.
That's what I
having
mean.
This
You-
conversation,
Yeah.
on let's say Jupiter or something. Yeah.
Right.
If we develop the atmosphere to do so.
Okay. Is that ultimately one of your goals? Is interplanetary space travel for yourself?
I think it's a dream to see it, but my goal right now is to be the best mathematician I can be to teach 7th graders.
Okay. But
That's my goal right
Do you
now.
think of using your math skills though with any space program, like going beyond the classroom?
Maybe to ask questions like the one that we started at the beginning when we discussed zero, right? Like maybe be that antagonistic person there that invokes those deep questions as opposed to being the brain behind it. But you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right. Like to
People have to ask quality questions, and sometimes people are comfortable with what they've been doing and need somebody to ask.
like challenge
thought-provoking questions.
preconceived notions and to break out.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, like for example, with space travel, what's one of the preconceived notions everybody has that you think should be challenged? Could be changed.
That's an interesting question, actually.
Right.
Well, one of the preconceived notions right now is that people think we can make Mars hospitable, and we cannot. We don't even have the technology to create a false atmosphere, let alone save our atmosphere we're in. So it's like, what kind of conversation is that?
Do you have any thoughts on like the theory of Mars at one point being habitable?
I think there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that points to that conclusion.
Okay.
But unless we get there and we collect artifacts, right, which is our currently accepted practice for archaeology, there has to be artifacts to date a time period for us to determine whether or not it was, inhabited by people.
Is there any conclusions we can draw from Mars' current state?
Absolutely, there is, and that's actually discussed in the climate report based upon the evidence we have that we observe from the sciences and those that report on it. Is Mars appears to have faced a catastrophic climate cycle, and that's the current conclusion.
You mentioned climate change a few times in conjunction with what is creative society. So why do we keep coming back to that? Of all
Well,
the things, what is
Of all things, is because that's the most pressing issue that actually requires the mobilization of the entire human race and all of our capacity to address it.
and are you talking about climate change, like global warming, this sort of thing?
I'm talking about the anthropogenic aspect of plastic pollution.
Okay.
Right, and plastic pollution's effect on our oceans, our oceanic bodies' ability to regulate temperature, which it's like the AC of the Earth, right? So, right now, that's one critical area that needs to be addressed, and so I guess that could go into that creative aspect you talked about, where it requires numerous people to interact to develop a solution.
And is that a big component of creative society?
It's a big component of our mission right now. Yeah.
So creative society is is there a formal organization to address climate change that you guys have? Or?
Well, outside of the Creative Society, yes, there's other volunteers who participate in the Earth Save Science Collaborative. It's an interactive platform in which scientists from all around the world can join in and contribute towards the solution.
What are some of the contributions you've gotten so far?
Well, one is the development of atmospheric water generators, which is discussed in one of our documentaries we've done.
So what is an atmospheric water generator?
That's a great question. So Moses West, if you aren't familiar with him, Moses West contributed in 2014 to the Flint water crisis. He developed the technology, one of the individuals who developed the technology specifically for military application, but it draws water from the atmosphere and
Okay.
converts it into usable, drinkable water.
So this is like a dehumidifier sort of device.
Sort of, right? So yeah, our current methods of extracting the water also requires us to cool it through certain mediums as well.
Right.
So it's not really energy efficient, right? So that's why it's not a widely acceptable use of machinery.
Like you're saying like because you need a power source.
Absolutely. Well, you need a lot of power, right?
Okay. So
And,
what is the what are you guys proposing then that makes it different than a dehumidifier?
it's not that we're proposing it, right? We provide the platform for people who are already creating these technologies.
Right.
And we give them the opportunity to discuss it, similar to what you're doing for us here today.
Okay.
But we provide completely unrestricted access to the conversation, right? So we interview people, we find out these technologies, and we expose those technologies and bring awareness to those technologies to the entire world.
Okay. And so the awareness you guys are shining the spotlight on
Yeah.
right now is this Water from Air initiative.
Of course.
And this existed outside of the Creative Society,
Yes.
but the Creative Society is enveloping it,
Yeah,
bringing it
absolutely.
in.
Absolutely.
So, like now, what's the next step then with this?
Depends on people. So the reason why we're bringing awareness to the atmospheric water generator is because if we stop extracting water from the ground and we use these atmospheric water generators, not only will I guess, ceasing the extracting activities help the earth circulate and do its function, right? Because we're not pulling and we're not creating stress, but also pulling the oversaturation of moisture that's in different
Like
regions
humid
of the
swamps
plant.
and so forth.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What was the stress part about taking water out of the earth? Because people have had wells and
Well,
so
it's
forth
very
for a long
similar
time.
to fracking, right? We're over extracting our fresh water sources,
Okay.
right? And we don't. I mean, it's an energy intensive process to desalinate water,
Right.
which is one of the things that's being addressed as well.
Okay. Well, what do you stress beyond? Is there some stress that the earth?
Well, the stress is people fighting for water, right? So,
Right.
which
yeah.
of
You want
course
to calm
is
everybody down
an
so everybody can.
interdependent process, right?
Okay.
Because then we start burning more things and start destroying more things to acquire that thing that we want.
And the burning is like burning fossil fuels, which, as we understand, is what has created climate change and global warming to begin with. The CO2.
Yes and no. Yes and no. And I say no only in the aspect because we don't, as a collective community, we've stopped addressing the fact that our entire climate is an interdependent system. It's the marshes, it's the oceans, it's all those ecosystems that make up the entire climate model.
Right.
And yes, the oversaturation of CO2 has contributed some catastrophic effects to that.
Right. I mean, it seems.
But I
to-
just wanted to clarify that because, I'm sure you've been involved in nuanced conversations where people like to fight particular points. So I wanted to make sure I clarified that.
well, the
climate
primary,
system,
the,
you
the
know.
primary, the prevailing understanding
Yes.
is CO2 is,
Yes.
is the cause, right?
Yes, that's the current accepted understanding. But Creative Society brings awareness to also the facet of climate cycles that happen every 12,000 years and every 24,000 years, which is, being explored right now by the main scientific bodies in our world.
And so, what's a thumbnail version of what that means?
Essentially, in cycles of time,
Yeah.
we experience more intense influxes of cosmic radiation that contribute to the destabilization of our climate model. if you
Cosmic
will,
radiation, like from the sun,
from outer space in general, right?
like from stars, or what are we
From
talking
a
about?
particular point in our universe, which isn't. I can't give you an answer on that. I'm not the astronomer, but that's what's being discussed right now. Yes.
So, because I'm not familiar with this, so you're saying cosmic radiation, which is like it's
An
just
external energy source. Yes.
right, and it's doing what?
Well, it impacts our core. It has an interactive process with our Earth's core, is the current understanding.
The Earth's
core,
okay,
right, which destabilizes the magnetic field, which also increases the internal heat of the core of our planet.
Okay.
And that in conjunction with the plastic pollution, which traps more heat underneath, right? There's been an increase in volcanic activity underneath, which points to the fact that there's a destabilization at the core of our planet, which points to the fact that there is an external energy source because our core is a closed loop. Does that make sense?
the core
That's
is
as far as I've understood it so far.
the core is a closed loop,
Yes,
and the radiation is agitating this.
that's correct.
and then
So now we're talking about physics, right? We're talking about the interaction of physics, which is why we bring awareness to the conversation because the evidence points to this. It's like this: if you're not shining light on the problem, no one's looking at the problem.
right, if you're
Right?
not
And if no one's discussing the
Right.
problem, how can there be a solution developed if people aren't having the conversation?
if you're not hitting the core with cosmic radiation, it doesn't agitate.
That's correct.
So, how does the core agitating? How does that cause global warming?
Well, that mathematics is a little bit beyond me, isn't it? But
I
I
don't know.
can give you a simple way that I've understood it. That agitation destabilizes the magnetic field, right?
Okay.
Which also has, I mean, for those that don't know, much of the life, our atmosphere, everything on our planet is determined by our ability to have a magnetic field. And so
Okay.
as the magnetic field weakens, it leaves us susceptible to more of those harmful effects of cosmic radiation, but also the effects from the sun.
And this cosmic radiation, does it hurt life? Like if I go outside without sunscreen,
so,
the
so
sun
you're,
will.
you're essentially talking about the interaction at the informational and quantum physical level, right?
Okay.
Which is really, it's honestly beyond me, which is why we had an entire climate team who wrote up this report and then amongst themselves developed the Earth Save Science Collaborative to bring scientists within these fields to have that discussion.
And what are these scientists advocating we do?
There's two solutions. One is right now, right, like immediately, is the degassing method, right? Degassing is essentially the controlled digging of particular points of our planet to alleviate pressure within the core of the planet.
Like you're talking about in the pressure in the core. I'm thinking there's like hot lava and earthquakes and
That
stuff.
would be a correct, right?
Okay.
Which we know from deep focus earthquakes that have been increasing that there is this change that's happening at the deep level of our planet.
And you're saying digging tunnels or holes or something will relieve this?
Yeah, like the worm from Dune, how he just goes in and creates
okay.
a whole tunnel, right?
Okay.
Like that's how I've understood it. That's how I've envisioned it.
Okay.
Right? But this is one of the proposed methods that's being discussed. And the second is the atmospheric water generators, because to remove the excess moisture will alleviate the flooding of certain areas that has happened as a result of the plastic pollution, the CO2, and the climate cycle we're discussing right now.
And having
Strategically placing those atmospheric water generators will assist in that. Yeah.
how many of those and how many of these holes or tunnels will be needed?
I'm not sure. We should probably reach out to the Earth Safe Science
I don't
Collaborative
know.
together.
I'd imagine a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a good question.
Is there any are there effects we should be worried about, like earthquakes or eruptions or anything?
As a result of the degassing or in general?
Of all of this, because this is a lot.
So-
Beyond just global warming temperature.
Yeah, of course it is. Actually, one of the areas that's of concern that we talk about right now is Siberia. Underneath Siberia, there's evidence of the presence of an increase of a magmatic plume that's developing underneath Siberia right now.
Okay, and what does that mean?
So that area had a catastrophic explosion in the distant future. In the distant past, my apologies.
Okay.
And if that explodes, then it will cause a chain reaction of the other volcanoes on our Earth. Yeah.
So if one goes off, this specific one in
That
Siberia,
specific area, yeah.
because there are volcanoes active all over the Earth right
Of
now,
course.
they don't seem to be triggering other things, but this one is
More or less, yeah.
worrisome.
Yes.
Okay, and if it goes off, other volcanoes are triggered.
Yes. It creates a cavitation effect, and so this mass exploding in split
Okay,
on Earth in that particular area.
and then there's just a lot of volcanoes people are gonna have to watch out for. Is that what you mean during that moment?
That would be the least of our worries, right?
What's the primary worry?
I'm not worried about the volcanoes going off. I'm worried about the event itself of Siberia. I don't think we would have time to worry about the other volcanoes if that happens.
I guess I understand. What is Siberia is more than a volcano?
No, so underneath, it's a particular weak area of our planet right now.
Okay.
Due to the So in '98, our planet had a shift in the core. We observed it.
Okay.
There's mathematical models on it found in open access. And the magnetic fields are now changing and pulling towards that area as well. So it's showing there's an imbalance there. On top of that, there's an increase, a significant increase in the deep focus earthquakes in that area. And based upon LIDAR technology, it's showing that there may be a magmatic plume that's developing under that area, which...
Is that different than a volcano? Because I'm not familiar with the magnetic.
So the magmatic plume, as I understood it, once it develops, it weakens the area and causes the volcanoes.
So a volcano
Yes.
will now come out of Siberia. I'm
Yes.
guessing a big one.
Of course.
Right. Okay. It goes off,
Yes.
and that triggers other volcanoes
Yes.
around the Earth, like
Yes.
pretty quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how
Is it
I've
kind of
understood
like,
it.
like a nuclear winter if like a reactor goes off, that kind of thing? Like that it's
I think you
cataclysmic,
can use a similar
something like
analogy.
that?
I think
Okay.
you can use a similar analogy to that.
something like that.
Okay. And is that then? What do we do then?
Well,
Might not be able to do
we're not going to be able to do anything.
So this is end of the world scenario.
I don't like using that, because I'm 34 years old.
Okay.
Right. And I say that in a joking manner to keep a positive mind about it. I'm 34.
Okay.
And every year of my life has been every year at 34 years old there's been a life-ending event.
Right.
So I like to say this is a significant challenge that demands our attention.
I mean, that might be underselling it a bit if this is going to be like volcanoes everywhere.
As far as the audience goes, or even everyday Americans, most of us are kind of desensitized to that. So we're trying different ways of explaining that without saying that.
Okay.
Because the moment you say that, people just dismiss you. There's like this defense mechanism that goes on.
This is actually, it makes me more interested because I've not heard of a Siberian super volcano erupting and triggering a chain of other volcanoes.
Yeah, be sure to check it out as soon as we conclude here.
Okay, but so then being a part of a creative society will bring forth ideas to help plug this volcano?
So let's start from a basic standpoint of interaction. We're having a conversation here right now.
Yeah.
Right. If I didn't take time out of my day and you didn't take time out of your day to have this discussion would have never happened. Mm-hmm. So the Creative Society operates, participants of the Creative Society create those conversations. We go out and we make sure they're being had. So one of the events that we do is networking for good, right? So other nonprofits in the area, and this happens in Rochester Hills, other nonprofits from the area come around and they show and exemplify the good they're doing in their local communities. At the same time, we inform them about this.
Okay.
Right? And
about the climate change
absolutely.
And everything. Okay.
And we inform people because if you don't know it's happening, how can you start to prepare, or even how can you have the conversation about it? Right. And every one of us is connected in numerous ways, and you meet all sorts of people, and sometimes those conversations provoke something like an individual who's a scientist like Egon Chalakian. If one of those interactions didn't happen, this scientist wouldn't be there.
Well, when you've met, so you're saying Rochester Hills, you have these meetings where nonprofits in the area meet, and you introduce this idea. Have any of the nonprofits you've met offered up any solutions to the volcano problem?
No, but they've put us in conversations to have these spaces.
Nobody has even just spitballed anything.
No, of course not. Of course not. They're everyday people.
Well, what I mean, but you're kind of your brain's like, isn't it kind of like brainstorming? Like, well, here's the problem, guys. We're looking for input.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
So nobody said anything like, I don't know, we could, like the whole, you said they need to dig these relief holes. Has anybody volunteered?
Degassing.
Shovels or construction equipment?
No. I mean, you're talking about the interaction between nations, right, Chris? Yeah,
Well, I mean, I probably have no impact on nations, but I personally, I know I have a snow shovel and a regular shovel. I'm just trying to think of something what everyday people can do to help.
Well, the practical thing you can do is have a conversation about it. As far as like your ability to
relieve the pressure,
unless you're a scientist yourself, like you're not contributing to it.
Well, I mean, like if I'd want to do something more hands-on to help relieve this pressure. I mean, just talking about it might actually be like it's more just hot air.
So if you want a practical application of what to do about it, you can take your time to contact geologists and other scientists who are within that field and make them aware of the problem. At least present the information to them so that it's on their purview.
Even that seems somewhat roundabout to me. Like
it's not. It's not, though. They're busy with their own life, like the rest of us, focusing on their own problems.
That's what I mean.
So if they're not looking in that direction,
right,
and you didn't approach them, it's never going to happen.
But what I mean, I could write a letter to my congressman too, but usually that doesn't do very much.
Depends on the congressman or the representative, of course.
Yeah. But I mean, like, why can't as just citizens take the matter into our own hands? Has there been any advocacy of that in the Creative Society to start?
And how would you envision you or I, let's say, getting together and digging a hole?
You can rent backhoes and other gardening and construction equipment. If we put our money together, we could get a backhoe and, or work with a company that puts in like in-ground pools.
And they would have the specialized equipment necessary to penetrate the earth.
Until we have the conversation. You never know what people have until you ask.
Do you know of any excavating companies in Michigan that specialize in deep focus?
I know of one guy, but I haven't approached him about it yet.
Dan's excavating.
His name is Dan.
Yeah, of
It's not he doesn't have a company.
Yeah,
but
there is Dan's Excavating.
His
name
name
is-
is one of the largest companies in Michigan.
it's not that guy,
Yeah.
but his name is Dan DiMaggio.
If Dan is interested, you should approach him and inform him about it then.
Is there a specific, like, if you have a map of places to dig?
There is presented maps in the recent release by scientist Egon Chalakian, who discusses the degassing method at length.
Is it, we're in Oakland County, Michigan.
Okay.
Are there spots within Oakland County to dig?
No,
Oh.
no.
Wayne
How
County?
far down? Like, are you going down like a mile? Like how far down?
It would probably be the farthest, from what I understand. It would be a lot farther than that, than a
Okay.
mile.
We have, according to this countdown, we started a show doing 28 minutes. We got about 2 minutes left here with the Creative Society. Would you like to continue beyond that, since Sue has the room for another 90 minutes? We could do another half hour if you want.
How do you feel?
If it's up to you, though, if you want to.
Whatever conversation you want to have, Sue, it's fine with me and Chris.
Okay.
Okay, we can continue. That's
Okay.
fine.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this and we'll start up immediately again with part 2
Sure.
of Creative Society. So if I do, let's see if this actually works. I'm going to hit this and nothing's going to happen. Right. Yeah.
The outro.
It worked.
Oh, that was. Can you make it make more sounds?
Yeah, those
Yeah,
That
was
was
good.
that was
You should,
super
you
fun.
should punctuate various moments. Yeah. I'm gonna do this. Okay, let's start one. We're gonna start one more time. There we go.
I'm just gonna take that little card thing I forgot.
You have the card? Where's it at?
Can I go get
Go
it?
get it.
Yeah.
It's all right. We'll vamp. Let's talk about creative things. Well, we're waiting for Sue to get back for part 2 with the Creative Society. I'm here with Jason Bell again, and Sue's going to get a card. But there's other creative things. Like some people, like the way they lay out like a croquet match in their yard is creative, or like a
course.
needlepoint is creative. All of these things are accepted within the Creative Society.
Every person's individual talents is accepted, of course.
Watercolors. I'm just looking for boundaries and to see if we can push into those boundaries. Any creativity that's not accepted.
It's really
I haven't encountered any boundaries, Chris.
Okay.
I haven't. You
Okay.
know, as long as a person isn't leveraging violence against another, you know, and that's not their form of creativity, it's fine.
What about martial arts, though?
I'm a martial artist. I'm actually.
Is that not a
an
gray
instructor.
area?
It is. It is.
Depends how you use it, I
It
guess.
depends
right?
on how you use it.
Okay.
We can get as nuanced as you want, because martial means the application of the body within a physical space, and then the art aspect is your individual artistry of that particular form you're doing.
And what led you to become a martial artist instructor?
I always wanted to do it. It's
Okay.
pretty cool.
And at what particular martial arts?
I train Wing Chun.
Okay. I don't know what is that? I don't
Wing
know.
Chun is a Southern style Chinese boxing art.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Wow. So within the Creative Society, boxing matches, exhibitions, sparring is encouraged, allowed?
No, I mean, it's
Oh.
what I do in my individual life,
Oh.
right?
But it's not encouraged in the Creative Society.
I mean, we're not getting together as Creative Society participants to have a boxing match, no.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay. I mean, I would imagine there's certain combos and moves and things that would be considered creative by some, or
Like up, down, left, right, L1, R2.
yeah, the full Konami code. Correct. Yes, exactly. All right.
That's
So
circle, triangle, square.
yeah, Sue has given me this card, which you apparently got at the
At
Rochester.
the networking, yeah, that's where I met
Yeah, that
them.
looks right.
Okay, and it looks like this is a climate map. Go ahead.
Turn around, like see where the part facing you.
Yeah,
There's like
I'm
the
gonna put
description
it on
there
a.
is
Hang on, I'm
good.
gonna get
The
another camera
description,
going here.
Under the documentaries, there's a description. I think it's a good description.
I'm gonna put it up on.
Oh, okay.
Hang
Oh,
on.
camera 9.
Yeah, just hang on a second. So,
Okay,
and
good,
I'm
'cause
gonna-
then they
I'm
can
gonna
see
zoom in on that, and then you can explain what we're looking at.
So you've made 3 documentaries at least, right? There's
That's
probably
correct.
more than 3.
That's correct.
So these 3 ones, okay, like so. Let's see what their names are.
So we have a warning to humanity, and we have the technology to will change the world. Looks like there's Tesla hiding behind a QR code. He's bashful. And then global crisis, The response.
The responsibility.
Responsibility. Okay.
And also hidden behind the
Yes,
QR code.
that looks like it
QR
was from.
code.
That looks like it was about roughly a year ago. So what can you? Yeah, what was? What happened a year ago? We'll go through each one of these. What was that?
That's interesting. So Global Crisis to Responsibility, I was a speaker at. So
Okay.
was Tali and Olga, both the Olgas.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it was a discussion of the climate report that was released. And all of the information was presented there that ended up finding its way into a 94-page climate report. And so we presented it on stage using our network, social media, e-television, and things of that nature. But essentially everything we've discussed today was discussed at length.
In that report.
Yeah, absolutely.
The underground pressures,
Everything.
the gas, and the
Yes.
leaving the water in the ground. And then
Yes.
after you presented the report, did you send it to world governments and NASA and so
Of
forth?
course we have.
Okay.
And we continue to do so, and those conversations are being had. But ironically, one of the responses we've received from representatives of government is that politicians can't make the choice unless the people demand it,
Okay.
which is like, that's
That's
to me,
true.
it's reality, right? If people aren't aware of it and they don't demand it, the politician is only going to do within the spectrum of the voters and what they want. So.
Yeah.
And I don't recall in the recent presidential election hearing much about climate change at all, let alone this this aspect of it.
No, that's definitely a point of contention right now in our country.
Okay. And do you guys in the Creative Society have a way to address this?
We don't get involved in any political way, shape, or form other than the interaction of people, which I personally, through my education, I understand as political.
Okay.
Anytime that you have to organize people in any way, shape, or form, that is political. But no, we haven't.
Okay.
So.
So the report was sent out, and was there any response to it? To like if you sent it to?
So there's been a few responses in Washington D.C.
Okay.
to the climate report, which led to the development of that Earth Safe Science Collaborative. So Dr. Egon Chalakian works closely with different department heads within our country, and what goes from there is what goes from there.
You've mentioned this doctor a few times. He's not listed
No,
here, right?
He's not listed.
So
here.
who is this gentleman? What do we?
Everyone wants to know who this individual
Yes.
is. He's so and such a shy individual. No, so
No.
as far as I understood and what I was able to glean when I met the individual is he's a scientist who went to Harvard.
Okay.
But he participates in different levels of physics in different institutions within our country. But outside of that, I can't speak to who he is.
And he's part of the Creative Society.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's trying to convey to everyone this climate information and
Yes,
so forth.
the importance of the information and the importance of us taking action.
Okay. And is there any chance she would do Sue's show?
No, I don't know. She
Oh.
would have to get in contact with him.
You
I don't
wanna-
have his personal cell phone number, no.
No. Do you have any? Okay. No way of contact. All right.
Was he in a documentary?
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about all of this stuff.
Yes.
Okay. But he went to Harvard, so he must know somebody.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, he does.
Okay. Like to get
He
some.
also worked under 4 different presidents, if I understand, 4 different cabinets.
Okay.
Wow.
And does he talk to them? You think?
No, I don't know.
Oh. All right.
Well, he seems to have good friends. I mean, those are.
I know that he is actively
Influential.
discussing this in many spheres of our society. So
If we put up like a bunch of a giant an array of mirrors and satellites to block some of this radiation,
you mean redirect it as if it's
something, yeah, to get it away from the Earth. Is that a possibility?
I think one of the methods that is discussed is actually shielding. That was recently
Okay.
discussed by Dr. Egon Chalakian. So
Okay.
I'm not sure what the evolution of that technology looks like or whether or not people
Oh.
are doing it. There was an individual that we had interviewed a few years ago from University of Kentucky who was actively developing a particular form of that technology, but whether or not it applies here, I don't know.
Okay. And what is the place of technology in the Creative Society?
Like technology in general,
Yeah.
if technology helps, it helps, right?
Like
It's ultimately determined by people and the policies we create to govern the technology and its uses. So
Like the water
So-
from air, certain technologies involve that beyond a dehumidifier. Are there other technologies that the Creative Society has been championing in relation to climate change?
So right now, one of the developed technologies out of Germany is the neutrino voltaic cube.
Yep.
It is being championed as a fuel-free generator, and it is expected to go into production next year. But for me personally, it raises even more questions.
What does this cube do?
So essentially, it utilizes the interactions of neutrinos,
Okay.
as far as I understand it, and certain graphene components, if I understood it correctly, and utilizes that interaction and harnesses it in the form of energy for use by consumers.
So it's like a generator, power generator of some kind.
Fuel-free.
Okay. And this is in Germany?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any examples in the U.S.? Or anything?
Not that. I mean, there's quite a few, speculative prospects.
Okay.
That are in different laboratories, but as far as in mainstream use, this is the only one I've seen that has been commercially pushed and commercially viable.
Okay.
If you will. But yeah.
So there's the water from air device.
Yes.
This neutrino cube.
Voltaic cube. Yeah.
Voltaic cube. And then I noticed on the handout there, Tesla's face. Nikola Tesla pioneered AC, alternating current, a myriad of other scientific equipment. So are there any other interesting technological advances that Creative Society has or is promoting or is aware of to address any of these problems?
Other than the two that I've listed so far, no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that the ones that interest me. These are the ones that interest me. So you may find interviews that have been done that I haven't watched, or interactions of other teams that I'm not participating in, and
they're just not you don't care about.
It's not within my field of view, if you will.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And then so there was this. Let me go back to it. Hang on a second. I didn't put this button.
But Tesla, that's the water.
That's the water from.
Yeah.
I did not realize that
technology.
Tesla did anything in regards to that.
I think it was just to attract attention and to discuss the possibility of limitless energy usage.
Okay.
Because he was working on
Yeah,
things like
quite a few
limitless. He
things.
wanted it to be free. He wanted it to be accessible to
Yes.
everybody.
Okay. And that's that portal behind him. Is that the device you're talking about, or what is that?
No, I think that's just a graphic to attract attention.
Okay. Okay. And then the Warning to Humanity New Climate Report. Is that the report you're saying was
Yes.
compiled?
Yes.
Okay. And what it looks like there's a sort of charred Statue of Liberty in the bottom left, ominous clouds, and then a burning globe. What am I looking at in the top center there?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I mean, is that
Like
Earth or are we
lava
on
or
Earth?
Maybe it's lava and stuff.
I don't know. It looks like a reflection, some kind of sphere that's used as a reflection for what's on Earth.
Oh, so okay.
Right? So it looks like it's reflecting the picture of Earth.
And is the sphere part of that reflective technology that the doctor was talking about to reflect the radiation?
No. I think
Oh.
this is just another graphical attraction.
Okay. It looks like so. There's a lot of media
Yes.
available. Is
Yes.
that a big component of the Creative Society media
It's a
arm?
huge component.
Okay. What are some others
to
that are?
disseminate information in
People like
diverse
to watch
ways.
video.
What are some others that are not here that stand out in your mind?
Some others that are not
Like these are
here. Well,
videos, right? Yeah.
The most recent one that was discussing by Dr. Egon Chalakian, he
Okay.
just did another, I think, part 4 of his release of information to the public as 2024 ends to warn people about Siberia. That's the most recent one I watched.
About the Super Bowl.
Outside of that, I've been pretty focused on finals. So
Oh, okay. How are the finals go? How's the studying going?
it's going good.
Did you have the tests already, or because it's pretty close to Christmas, so I'm
No,
assuming
no.
it's already been done.
Hopefully you're out for this.
No,
for
I'm
the
out
winter?
now.
Oh,
just
okay,
ended
good.
today,
Good.
so
It went well.
it went great. Thank you
Okay.
for asking.
You think you passed and everything?
I passed.
Okay, good, good.
Good for
Very
you.
And
Math is hard.
and you're okay with zero?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
He has no problem
All
with
right.
the zero.
Okay, I would imagine that
As
factors.
long as I learn something.
Right, it factors largely into mathematics, I would imagine.
Zero, no effort, Jason.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's nothing. The concept
Zero,
of nothing. Yeah.
zero as a concept, right?
Zero.
All right. What else about the Creative Society? What else should people know about the Creative Society?
Well, I think mostly people should know that it's impossible to have a solution for climate change unless we're discussing it,
Okay.
right?
Is there any sort of, I mean, we can discuss, people have been discussing it for one degree
People
or
haven't
another.
been discussing it, though. People have been polarized by this topic. So I think people should have a humble discourse and interact with their neighbors and tell them about it and create that space for that conversation without fighting each other or yelling at each other or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, tearing at each other's.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we can actually start focusing on a solution once that space is made.
But do we need, it sounds like at a certain point in the conversation, we need to have is there a timeline or we need to get on with it, right?
The practical means is we need to unite all of our scientific potential right now under one roof at one table so that they can work at the problem, right? As you discussed earlier, brainstorm and,
Right.
and work actively towards the solution.
With climate change is always supposed to be like a tipping point of like, like 2 degrees Celsius average that we go beyond. It's a danger thing. So is there at some point the conversation has to end, we have to take action. What's our timetable look like?
We only have about 4 to 5 years of relatively stable climate right now.
So like by 2028, 29.
It's going to be quite intense.
I mean, we've had, terrible hurricanes and other things that people have attributed
Not only that,
to.
they're synchronizing and they're intensifying at an exponential rate.
Okay.
Which can be viewed as an exponential function on a graph.
So in 4 years, what are we looking like? What are we looking at in the world? What should we expect? 10 years, 50 years.
If we don't do nothing, we won't be here in 50 years.
Just like
within my lifetime, my children's lifetime, we won't be here.
Like we'll have to migrate because of encroaching ocean levels?
There won't be no migration because of the planetary effects that result from not only the CO2, the oceanic pollutions, but the destabilization of our Earth. We won't have a home.
You're saying mass
And
extinction?
You're talking about complete collapse, yes.
You're just talking about human life, human civilization?
No, the Earth itself.
Well, I mean, the Earth will probably, it's been through various climate cycles and so forth.
That's what many people say in a way to dismiss the effect that somehow the Earth will move on without humans.
Right, yeah.
But unfortunately, that is not the case this time because of the effect we've had on our ocean. It doesn't have the ability to self-regulate right now.
So it'll just be like the moon
and
or
it's
Mars.
responsible for cooling our planet.
The ocean, right,
Yes.
cooling.
And that cooling of the planet has a direct interaction with the atmosphere, whether the atmosphere exists or not.
And so earlier you discussed how the cosmic rays were heating up the center of the Earth, the core.
That's how we've understood it, right? Because of
Right.
the physical processes, it has to be an interaction at the physics level, not just something like, hey, Jason touched this and did that, but...
But if the ocean's heating up, even if all terrestrial life is gone, there's something will survive. Like there's animal life and bacteria near the heat vents in the ocean, right?
Not if there's a cavitation effect and the Earth splits from the inside out, no.
When you say Earth splits from the inside
Right,
out.
So we have all of our tectonic plates, right?
Yes.
And these fissures.
Yeah, right,
So
right.
the Earth will split
Earthquakes.
open, right?
Yeah.
So one of the perspective potentialities is what's called a hydraulic effect. It's where magma interacts with the ocean
Okay.
and causes an intense explosion, which is very similar to multiple nuclear reactions happening at once, which a crust that's already thinning as a result of heating from below is that much more susceptible to spreading and cracking. And if that happens simultaneously while the magnetic field is destabilizing, we don't have an atmosphere anymore.
Okay.
Right? So the Earth can't function unless we do something about it right now.
And you say the Earth, the atmosphere will dissipate?
Yes, it will.
Okay. So then, and the Earth is splitting open with volcanoes.
Well, it's splitting open as a result of intense pressure, yes.
Okay. So then it'll be like the Earth will just be like the moon, just a rock? Or
Hopefully. That'll be just it, right? No, as far as I understood, one of the potential effects is it'll completely split in half.
the
Like-
Earth will split in half,
Split, yes.
overcoming the gravity that holds the Earth together.
Yes.
And what happens to those two halves then?
I don't know.
Do they become separate planets, or do they
don't know.
crumble?
I don't know.
And this is the 50-year projection?
It's within 50 years, yes.
Okay.
Right, this is based upon the hypothesis that's done by an organized team of scientists who created the mathematical model in regards to these interactions I'm discussing.
And how much faith
Just
do
to
you
be
put
clear,
in,
this isn't like Jason came up with this.
right? Well, how much faith do you put into this hypothesis?
I 99%.
That the Earth is within our lifetimes is going to
Yes.
split in half,
Yes.
and everybody's doomed.
Yes.
And
That's great for Christmas, everyone.
I was going to say, well,
Great for Christmas.
Wait, we have
I'm sorry
this
to be.
Christmas,
I'm sorry
right?
to be that one, that guy.
So you're saying losing sleep over tariffs right now really does. It's not. I shouldn't bother worrying about that.
No, of
No.
course not.
No, money's not going to matter. Like a lot of things wouldn't matter.
And then
You're talking about a complete renaissance of human interaction in general that is necessary in order for us to even mobilize the appropriate effort to mount.
well, let's say we do
a
all of
solution.
that, and then we dig the relief holes and everything.
Well,
Is-
first we slow down the effects of the cosmic radiation, and we degas so that the intense pressure doesn't keep
build up.
accumulating.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
not to go off. How I understood, it's like a fart building up in your body. It's got to go
right.
somewhere, right?
This is a deadly cosmic fart.
and it's- I love your humor. I really
I'm
do.
just trying
I
to-
really enjoy it.
This is it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the analogy I use in my mind. to
which
understand that.
at this scale could rupture a planet.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
Well, you got to take that into consideration of what our core is responsible for. It generates our magnetic field.
You seem relatively composed for someone with this, with this knowledge.
And, there's a level of self-actualization that has to happen. And
Right.
self,
But you're sleeping all right?
I sleep just fine.
Okay, but knowing that this could happen.
That's why I'm here and I do this instead of being at home with my children right now. Is because if I don't
It's
speak
important.
about it, how
Right.
is the conversation going to happen? We would have never met Egon Shalakian. Our friends wouldn't be interviewing top-level scientists. We wouldn't be interacting with dignitaries from different countries and facilitating this conversation at the United Nations and at different COP16, COP29 is some of our participants participated in and went and told them the same thing.
It seems like there's a urgency, but it's a subdued urgency almost.
You can't control people. I don't have massive amounts of money to force everyone to interact.
Okay.
So all you can rely upon is the power of the everyday person to
Right.
understand the urgency and interact with each other and discuss it.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Me personally?
No.
Yeah.
No.
The Creative Society.
Yes. You can find us on Rumble and on YouTube.
Okay. And it's just a lot to
It
go to
is,
bed with.
and
every
I've
night.
had 5 years to digest this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
In that 5 years, has it gotten better?
No.
Have things? No.
no.
Despite talking about it and sharing it, you don't feel
No,
like.
I mean, we've noticed, 5 years ago, we weren't at the United Nations and no one was taking us serious, right? We were just
But now you have
enthusiasts and scientists who were,
Creative
had the
Society
time.
has been at the United Nations.
We've had platforms to
Okay.
speak about this.
Well, that's more than any of us have had, so that's progress, right?
Yeah, that's progress.
Sure.
Okay. And what was the reaction at the United Nations?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm not behind the closed doors,
Oh, okay. So just the PR
I'm
photos.
not a diplomat, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just a guy.
All right.
Just a guy who's planning to enjoy Christmas.
Okay. So then, in other words, you're not pessimistic about all
Of
this.
course not.
Oh, okay.
Because anything's possible. I've seen it. I've seen the way we've responded in times of urgency and crises. We come together, neighborhoods come together, and unfortunately, there's not real good examples of seeing that at the national level, not since World War II, in which FDR mobilized our country, but at least at the local level, I've seen it still be a possibility. I've seen it in North Carolina that was affected by the hurricanes. My personal friends, the towns, the communities came together to leverage their resources and assist each other when institutions did not. I think ultimately what people need to realize in face of these climate catastrophes and to I guess, make it selfish why people should really care and
Well, I would
at least
think
dive into
the
this.
selfish part would be not,
yeah.
dying on an exploding planet.
You would think so.
Right,
but
yeah.
most people actually, don't think that far ahead.
No, it's not.
But it's the fact that together we can do anything.
Okay.
And so that's it.
So if that's the case, let's say somehow people survive all these cataclysms despite all of it, whatever. They're probably going to be in bad shape. like the water from air technology, the free energy technology, are there any other technology out there to help them, because they're probably going to be beat up. Is there anything they can do to restore their health, restore the planet once things go to hell?
Well, there's a lot of those technologies that are being developed in the consumer society. I mean, regenerative medicine is one of the most discussed technological prospects in our society, making people younger and live longer. But why would you live? Why would you?
I mean, just saying,
you
worst
wouldn't
case,
even have the proposition to
worst case
be younger
scenario.
with this.
You somehow you survive it, like in a cave or something, or like an airship, but you're burned.
It's quite unlikely, but yeah.
But you're saying there is a chance. Okay, all right.
I mean, in mathematics.
And you need to replenish the earth. You need to bring back everything. Could you use that free energy machine to do something or to help?
If you have a home to go to.
I mean, you
if
can
it's
build
there,
the home.
Right?
Okay.
Now you're talking about two different independent events. The technology survived the cataclysm, and you survived independently.
Well, yeah.
Those are two independent things. So
but
both of those things happen.
The universe being infinite, all possibilities have a chance.
Highly improbable.
But there's probably going to be stuff on the earth that's going to survive, like let's see, Stonehenge has been around for anything stone, ancient stuff, pyramids and stuff have been around, despite all kinds of humans dropping bombs and going nuts and stuff. There's got to be something that's going to be here that some survivor could use.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of these excursion events, right, that we've observed, these super cataclysmic events that fall within the timeline of 12,000 years. But the difference between all of those and why we have like this, I'll just call a genetic imprint that will survive, right? We'll survive.
We'll
survive,
regenerate
right?
somehow.
But in all that time history, there were never humans that polluted the ocean to the capacity that we've done so. And so the ocean cannot do its job without us interacting and resuscitating it.
But humans have also made these machines you've talked about. They've never been humans that have made these machines
But
so
if
far.
it's not implemented at a mass scale, how can it? It's not going to
See,
have
that
any
sounds
effect.
pessimistic to me.
Well, that's the realism.
Okay.
Right? That's the realism that we need to mobilize and put the resources towards this in order to make it a reality.
Are we better off here? Because the Great Lakes, it's not salt water, but it's large bodies of water.
No,
will we be
but
cooler
this is
here?
going to be a huge point of contention in the near future between states and between nations because we have roughly 15 to 18% of the world's fresh water. And right now we currently have companies vying for our land and our water resource for artificial intelligence.
But won't there be like
technology.
less volcanoes here because of the cooling effect of the
No,
Great
believe
Lakes?
it or not, earthquakes do happen in Michigan.
But I mean, there'll be less than like Wyoming or something doesn't have any Great Lakes.
I don't know. We'd have to
I'm just
defer to the USGS on that.
Okay. Just trying to think of like anything. I'm thinking like, is there any button we can push to get out of this?
No. Speak about it, Chris. Understand the importance of it. Read the report.
But
dive
after
into it as
at
far
a
as you
certain
can.
point, talk.
Pick up the phone. Fly to Washington, D.C., go to a different lab. Do whatever is necessary that you feel you can do.
Okay. Well, I would say I'll wait till
Besides rolling up in bed and watching Netflix.
That's
not the ideal solution.
I would wait till the ground thaws and then start digging.
Hey, if you can dig to China, you'll be the first man to do so.
I don't know. Do you have to go? You have to go that far? Like if you just if every one of us can relieve a little bit of the pressure.
Yeah.
Everybody digs their own grave.
I definitely think it requires specialized equipment to have an effect.
Again, I know a guy.
I don't think
spoken
you and
like
your
a guy
shovel.
from Michigan.
Well, this has been good. We've learned a lot today. We have about a minute left, so this is your final minute to say anything in regards to the Creative Society. I'm going to go bring you full screen so you can see this, and go for it, Jason.
No, I would just like to say go to info@creativesociety.com and shoot us an email with any questions you have. Go to our YouTube and check out the different informational portals that are there. And thank you all for being here.
Well, thank you very much, Jason Bell, the Creative Society. Sue Hanley, thank you. You did it.
Sue,
You did it. I couldn't have done it without you. And it's going to play some music. Oh, we have like 40 seconds left.
That's awesome.
What else?
Thank you for being with us. And,
Thank you.
For,
Thank both of you. And thank you for your sense of humor, man.
I think this is...
It's a really terrible topic, man. So
it's a horrible topip. The Earth's splitting in half.
I really appreciate you.
Hot lava in Siberia, which is supposed to be cold.
Yeah, we get...
It was cold, I guess, until the lava happened. It's still crazy.
Is there anyone doing anything about it? We have like tens in Siberia. Is anybody helping?
No.
They're all worried about Ukraine or something. They're focused on other shit.
They all exactly. It's a blaming game, right?
Putin got strong hands to dig, right?
Yeah.
I've seen him on a bear. I saw a video of him on a bear.
Reminds me of Dr. Eggman in
Yeah.
the new Sonic 3.
Dr.
He's got a hand. And
Maybe is Dr. Eggman part of the?
I mean, I wish
Creative
we had
Society.
a Dr. Eggman to do this, man. I'm serious. I really do. And his grandfather.
And his grandfather. Oh my goodness.
There we go. That's it. Thank
you
you.
so much.
Back
Oh
to
my
back.
gosh, that was fun. That was
That's
fun.
Now
So,
I gotta get to sleep.
yeah, for Chris.
How do we stop here? What do you have?